When you start with YouTube, there comes a time that you think, well, now I have to have a place to shoot somewhere. But the most simple things and the most simple places can make up your backdrop or background for your YouTube studio. But did you actually expect that this was my bedroom with my closet here, my lights here, and my laptop here with my script? In this video, I'll share some tips, tricks, and ideas for your YouTube home studio that you can make yourself or that won't break the bank. My name is Dexxter Clark from the Netherlands and I'd love to be your guide in starting a YouTube channel. This channel is filled to the brim with tips, tricks and tutorials for YouTube creators. So subscribe if you want to gain more subscribers and hit the bell icon. Make sure that you stick around till the end because I have some talking points in this video that weirdly enough are so obvious, but I didn't see anyone talk about it on YouTube. So this video I first start with some tips and then I dive into some tangible ideas for backgrounds and backdrops. My first tip. Your background has to fit your videos or your channel topic. For example, my desk here with my monitor speakers here and my computer here fits my music production videos very well because this is the computer I produce my music on. For my videos about YouTube, this serves as an office and also works well. But for a gaming channel, for example, not so much. And this is why I shoot my stuff for my gaming channel on my couch. The idea behind this is I'll invite you over into my house and we'll play a game together. If you film, make sure that there isn't coming any light from behind the subject. Because if that happens, your subject will look like a silhouette. Cameras use the brightest point in an image, first to autofocus, but second to adjust their brightness settings. For my gaming channel I try to film on the couch here, but the problem is because of the window behind me, my autofocus kept wandering off and my brightness settings were all over the place. So I stopped doing that and I started shooting with the curtains closed. It looks weird, but it works. And even in this shot, where my face is enough lit, you get a kind of halo effect inside my head. That isn't optimal, so always try to point the camera in the direction that the light is traveling. And no, this shot isn't optimal either. Okay, and then a rule that I broke myself a couple of times. Clean up your room. Because it gives a really uninterested impression to the viewer. I see a lot of creators using colored LED lights to shine on a wall, which can achieve great results if done right. Make sure that you choose LED lights that don't flicker too much, because it can interfere with the frame rate of your camera.
Do you see those waves of light coming from the bottom? And when I freeze the frame, that you will see that I have, well, 10 fingers or 20?
Another problem could be that these lights make your image clip, because the camera can't cope with the huge amount of brightness difference in one image. This makes your light look like one giant white blob. Some creators use automatically changing colors, and this is fine if you do one-take videos, but most of us don't. Then with every cut in the video, the color of the light changes, which is kind of distracting for the viewer. The focus needs to be on you and not the background. Also keep in mind your clothing choice. For example, face down, ass up, for example, isn't a good fit for a serious video. Also, make sure that you don't blend into the background. Well, I have a white shirt on a white wall, my head is a little bit a floating object in a white space. And a little side tip on clothing choices. Make sure that you don't wear anything with stripes or repeating patterns, because it gives a really weird artifact on the video, because the resolution of the video interferes with the pattern. If you can't see the moiré effect, then turn down the resolution of your YouTube video and look at the stripes on my shirt. You want to have a background that is easy to set up and easy to break down within a couple of seconds. This is one of the reasons that I've mounted my softboxes to the wall. I can leave them here, and if there are strangers are coming over, then I can remove them within a couple of seconds. I only have to flick on the switch and I'm ready to shoot. But you have to work with what you've got, and a lot of places are not ideal to shoot. With my bat pole here and my closet here cramped in a tight corner. I live in a really small space and I think that a lot of you can relate. I simply don't have a lot of spaces to shoot in. So look for a spot in your house that is a little bit presentable, or you can make a little bit presentable with some minor tweaks, and that can be a wall or a corner, for example. The funny thing is that limitation breeds creativity. Is this a great space? No, but it works. Don't exaggerate. This is a YouTube video and not a Hollywood movie. The U in YouTube means a little bit of amateurism. This is baked into the expectation of the YouTube platform. This means also that people can relate quicker to you than when you have a fancy setup. Background and backdrop ideas for your YouTube videos. Number 1 is really easy and it will cost you nothing. Nature. It has one inherent downside. If you're living in a country like the Netherlands, Germany, England, we have 5 days of summer and the rest of the year is rain, 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 wind and again rain. Nature as a backdrop or background has a more organic and natural feel to it. Also in the background tend to move little things like leaves in the wind or a car driving by in the distance, which holds the viewer's attention a little bit better. This is why I shot my video Low Competition YouTube Niches completely outside, because it is a list of ideas and a list of ideas can be really boring. Psst, if you're interested in the video, the link is in the description. Nothing is more simpler and more cheaper than a white wall, but it's also kind of boring. So my advice is hang something on your wall, for example a picture, so it gives a little bit depth in the video. But you can also use, I already talked about LED lights, or you can paint a wall dark grey with dark grey green or dark grey brown or something like that. That makes a huge difference. There are also professional backdrops, you know, the ones that photographers use, a giant sheet of paper on a roll. If you decide to go that route, I would suggest a more permanent solution, so mount it to the wall or to the ceiling, for example, because otherwise you have to work with stands and those stands take 30 minutes to set up and those rolls are extremely heavy and you need 2 persons to get a roll on a stand. With a permanent solution you can pull down the backdrop and you're finished. By the way, a backdrop can be a fabric or paper. Such a professional backdrop is absolutely fine if you have a dedicated room in your house or a professional YouTube studio, but in a living room situation, it's just butt ugly. I also experimented with a black backdrop, but I wasn't too happy with the results. It's fine for a theater setup, amazing in fact, but for a video, yeah, not so much. And you also need to cover a lot of wall. I've also experimented with a removable background. One side is grey and the other side is green. The downside is, well, setting up is easy, 5 seconds, it unfolds automatically. But putting this thing back in its bag, you need to fold it without breaking the hoop. And that is a certain technique and it's really weird. So what I now do is I hang this thing on a hook in my bedroom and every time I need it, I grab it. A green screen could be a great option, but it's not for me. First of all, it takes a tremendous time to set up because the lighting has to be perfect. In an ideal world, you would have to light the background evenly. That is in itself already a nightmare because now I have a light over here which lights up this part of the green screen, but this part of the green screen is darker. I don't know in front if that works in post, yes or no. And in an ideal situation you have to light the actor, the subject, separately. So I'm lit here without casting any shadows on the background. You also need to have a good color green. Otherwise it won't work. The green reflects on everything, on my skin for example, but especially on my bald head and in my glasses for example. But also hair will give some problems. Also zooming in and out in post is a nightmare. Also video editing is a nightmare because I have to adjust the green screen settings for an optimal result in every single shot. You can go along with one settings if you have a closed studio, but in this case I have to deal with light from the outside. So the lighting conditions change every single time. Also video rendering takes a lot longer. And to be honest, the result isn't that great. Judge for yourself. Okay, let's say that everything went fine. All the green screens give you the most brilliant results that you ever hoped for. What do you put on your green screen? Did you fix the background problem at all? Curtains. One of the easiest things to set up or hide when you're done are curtains. It's also the most aesthetic option if you live in a small space and your YouTube studio doubles as a bedroom or a living room. For example, you could hang a reel on your ceiling. Once you're done, you open the curtain and everything is back to normal. And you can even block some unwanted sunlight from your window. So my advice, a really simple neutral background. And the most simple solutions can often be the best ones. Some simple but yet super extreme effective ideas for backgrounds. First of all, a simple bookcase or a shelf with memorabilia that you used in previous videos, for example. A plant to make things look more organic or natural. Some picture frames with photos that you made yourself or some abstract art. A clock, but make sure that the clock doesn't work, because if you have to move around footage in your post-processing, your edit process, then the clock reveals what you did. And you can also use a chalkboard or a whiteboard, for example, or a whiteboard to explain things, for example. Pick up the catalog of that famous Swedish furniture store and go through that catalog with the mindset of YouTube background, YouTube background, YouTube background, YouTube background. And you'll be amazed what you can find for just a couple of dollars. And in my case, I took the really simple route. I bought some pictures frames at the store and printed out some copyright-free images on my printer. And guess 3 times what this background costed me. 80 bucks. Now let's record a video. But how do you read a 12-page script naturally without using a teleprompter or without memorizing the whole thing? I'll share my secret technique with you in this video. If you took value from this video, like and subscribe.